of the League of Women Voters. Judy. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization which encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We influence public policy through education and advocacy. We register new voters, and through our Get Out the Vote initiatives, we work to overcome issues that depress voter participation. By the way, the League of Women Voters is not just for women, and we welcome them to join in making democracy work for all. Just a few announcements. On the table behind me are voter registration forms. If anyone has moved since the last time they voted, they may need to re-register, and we can help you out there, or anyone who is not currently registered can sign up. I'm sure all of you know Tuesday is primary day, and the polls are open they open at noon and close at 9 p.m. You can be an advocate for democracy by bringing a friend, a neighbor, a child with you to the poll. To find more information on your polling place and see a sample ballot, visit the Board of Elections website. For additional information on candidates, visit the League's election information site at vote411.org, where you'll find candidate-provided biographies and their responses to one or more questions posed by the League. And hot off the press. This week is the last week of the legislative session in Albany. And unfortunately, the efforts to reform New York voter deadline for a change in party affiliation did not come to a vote. And what that means is that October 11th will be the deadline to register a change in your party affiliation if you wish to do that before the presidential primary in April 2020. And a final bit of housekeeping, if anybody needs them, bathrooms are down the hall there. And please note that this event is being recorded. The recording will be made available for viewing on our website at LWV-RMAcandidateforumsoutherndistrict. Now, the League is pleased to sponsor this candidate forum in partnership with the South Wedge Planning Committee, and we thank their Executive Director, Glennis Valenti. Glennis, would you? Tonight we have with us distinguished Democratic primary candidates that will be on the ballot for the Rochester City Council South District seat. We are honored to have as our moderator Shirley Thompson, former member of the Rochester City School District Board of Education. Shirley will introduce the candidates and explain the guidelines for tonight's event. We request that all in attendance respect the candidates, our moderator, our hosts here at Hamilton Towers, and the League's own commitment to civil and respectful discourse. And now, I turn it over to Shirley.
Thank you, Judy. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's going to be interesting working without a lectern, but we're going to make it work. I'd like to thank the South Wedge Planning Committee and Hamilton Towers and the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this evening's forum. Judy touched on some housekeeping items. I just want to mention that, well, she's already said there are no recordings. I'd like to ask you to please put your phones on silent or to turn them off so that we don't have any unexpected interruptions. And if there's an emergency, everybody can see the exit. We'll try to file out peacefully and calmly. I want to thank...
Can I please get up first? Because I think my phone might still be on.
Sure, thank you.
Excuse me.
We appreciate that. While you're getting your phone. I'd like to thank the two candidates for the Rochester City Council South District seat for being here this evening. I'd I'd like to explain the forum for tonight, the format. There's a first round of questions that's been prepared by the sponsoring organizations, by the South Wedge Planning Committee and the League of Women Voters. The questions will be directed to each candidate in rotating order, and therefore each of you will have a chance to respond to at least one question first. And written questions will be submitted, we hope, by audience members, and the League of Women Voters will review those to make sure there's no redundancy and the questions are relevant. So there will also be a second round of questions that will include audience questions. And should you submit a question, we ask that you write as legibly as possible, because if we can't read it, we can't ask it. The candidates have drawn numbers, the two of them, and we know that Ms. Harris will be giving her opening remarks first, and followed by Ms. Lewis. Let's see, that'll be 1 minute for your opening remarks, and then when we begin the series of questions, each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. There will not be an opportunity for rebuttal, so they will not be addressing each other, but they'll be responding to the questions. And then at the end of the questioning sessions, both rounds, each candidate will have an opportunity to give 1 minute of closing remarks. So we would like to begin this evening's forum by asking Ms. Harris to give, just 1 moment. Pardon me? Yes, I was going to ask just now. Thank you, Judy. I skipped over letting the candidates give intros the other night, but I'm on it tonight. So we're going to start by asking Ms. Harris to give 1 minute of opening remarks, followed by Ms. Lewis, and then we'll begin the alternating question session.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters and the residents here in this building and the South Wedge Planning Committee for allowing me to have time here. I am a resident of the 19th Ward community, and I lived there since 1999. I grew up in the 19th Ward community. I'm a child of this city. We started humble beginnings over there in Fight Village, and then we moved over to the 19th Ward once my parents became a little bit more able to buy their first home. I have worked in EMS for 25 years. I'm a paramedic. I have been serving this community as a paramedic for that whole entire time through Rural Metro, actually formerly known as National Ambulance, Rural Metro, and now the company is called AMR. I am still employed there. I'm there as a part-time supervisor after stepping down from my role as a market development manager. I am also the former county legislator for the 27th district, and now I am sitting in the city council seat through the appointment process that was done to fill the vacancy. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to serve, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ann Lewis. I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to be here this evening. I have lived 27 years in Cornhill. I'm on the Cornhill Association Board. Currently, I'm the Rochester City School District teacher, special education. Prior to that, I worked 16 years as a jail counselor. Prior to that, 5 years as a victim service worker. I was blessed to be steadfast. It took me 14 years and 2 matriculations to get my master's in public administration. And then now I have a master's in education. My greatest strength is being an advocate. I'm a listener. I'm not a big talker. You'll see that in a little while. But I love people, genuinely love people, and I genuinely want to help our community. I do not have all the answers, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. That's why I'm a good listener, so you can tell me what you want, what you need. I am not a politician. I'm an advocate, and that's who I am. Thank you so very much.
You may notice in the front row that the president of the league, Jimmy Weinstein, will be holding up colored cards. Each candidate, as I said, will have 1.5 minutes to respond to a question, and a card will be held up at 30 seconds and again at 15 seconds, and then the red card means stop. So if I interrupt a candidate during their remarks, it won't be out of disrespect, it's just so that we can make sure that each of you gets the same amount of time.
And if I may interrupt one more time.
Certainly.
If you have a question, if you put it on an index card, I have cards. We also have pens, and then I'll collect the index cards.
All right, we're going to begin now. This first question will be answered by Ms. Lewis. In your view, what are the two greatest challenges you believe the City of Rochester and its residents are facing today? And as a City Council member, what strategies would you support in addressing those challenges?
One of the major challenges in the City of Rochester, as we all know, is our lack of educational system that works. However, the major problem in our city government today, or the City of Rochester, is that we don't trust the people who are currently in power. They play games, such as, say for example, last night they held a referendum to are we going to put control of the city school district on the ballot for November. Why do that? Because it has no binding factors. They could have gathered the information by taking a Go Monkey survey and reach out to our residents. Why start the residents in an uproar? Why have people coming down to city council, marching, saying negative things back and forth with each other? From what I saw, I wasn't there, just saw news excerpts. Council members were not so nice, and the people who showed up were not so nice. So why work up people? Focus on the real issues. City council knows that they cannot abolish the city school district. It has to go through the state. They have the power. So that vote last night was just going through the motions, working people up, making people angry. We have to start uniting this community. We have to stop the rhetoric. We have to go back to trusting our government leaders. And one of the things that I had said in one of my, sorry.
Ms. Lewis, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say that the vote was on Tuesday, not last night, and I voted. I gave an absent vote. I did not vote for it because I work for the city school district, but I believe all hands on deck for education is something that we need to do. Everybody needs to be a part of the solution. My two things is affordable housing and education. I have been working as an educator through EMS education for 6 to 7 years now. I now head a program with the city school district called Career Pathways and Public Safety Program. And I think that now our community needs to take a different approach. One of the approaches is that we bring private business into the folds of trying to help us educate our children. I say that because the model I have, it works. AMR, as an AMR representative, we help educate young people to get into EMT jobs. That's what I do. When we get done educating them at CPPS, Career Pathways Public Safety Program, we give them a job. That's the things that I believe in. Affordable housing, we got to do what we can to control the rent rates in this community. We got to do it responsibly so we don't hinder development. We also need to make sure that our city continues to grow. So in order for it to grow, we need human capital. Human capital, it equals a vibrant city.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Thank you, Ms. Harris. And if you would keep the microphone.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, that's a good idea. I had no idea it was off.
I'm sorry, that was my fault.
It's okay. It's all right.
Ms. Harris, in what ways will you be accessible to the people you'll be elected to serve? For instance, how amenable are you to routinely meeting with the leaders of your constituent neighborhood groups and other community organizations?
I'm glad you asked that question. I've been trying to be accessible. I give people my emails, my telephone number, and access to my staff. As of right now, the city council person, I have a staff member, but I don't want to rely heavily on her. There are times when I'm not able to make meetings because I'm in the classroom or overseeing the classrooms, and that's between the hours of 7:30 and 10 o'clock. I have some flexibility between that time where I can leave lunch to go to a meeting, but my time at the school district, I have to be in the building till 3 o'clock. So anytime after that, I will be available for the community. I've done that as a 19th Ward resident, as a past president, delegate, and continued activist in the 19th Ward. I commit to doing the same thing as your city council person to the other 2 districts that I've inherited. So I commit to that, and I think that in the future you can hold me to that, because I will do just that.
I was told the other day, and I hadn't even realized it. They said, Ms. Lewis, do you realize you're the only candidate with your home number and your home address on your literature? I am determined to be accessible. I work all day, but I go to meetings at night through my church. I'm on the Cornhill Neighborhood Association board. I am accessible. I even love doing Lyft. I do Lyft at night. And that's where I get a lot of my different ideas and problems of what's going on with the city, because I'm there, I walk the neighborhoods, I'm in the churches, I talk to people. One person, it was really sad, and they said, our former city council person wasn't approachable, but you are. And I said, because I genuinely love people. The service work that I have done has been all about working with people in the jail, in the police department, special education teacher. Thank you.
And thank you both for being so respectful about the time allotments. Ms. Lewis, what do you do personally, and what have you done in the community to make Rochester a more livable city and the planet more hospitable for future generations? What is the city doing well in that regard, and what are the avenues you see for improvement?
One initiative that I applaud, I know the mayor didn't start it, but the clean sweep process that we do, I did it last year, that I've been doing for a couple of years to clean up our cities. One thing that I have done is the Montgomery Center. I don't know, last year, did you hear that they were in need of dollars to help renovate the center? The roof was in disrepair, the floors, the windows. So I started the Frederick Douglass Walk for Hope through our organization, Cornhill Association, and partnership with Mount Olive Church. Reverend Harvey allowed us to begin the walk at the church, and we marched and we earned money for the Montgomery Center. Additionally, it's about making partnerships. One of our board members, Lou Jones, he'll kill me if I tell you, but I'm gonna tell you because I'm proud of him. At the walk, initially he gave $400. He said, and you know what, this is a worthy cause. He wrote a check for $1,000. And since then, he's got Montgomery Center, a 78-inch television. He's been partnering with his friends to help build the roof. It's about making partnerships, bringing the right people to the right other individuals who need help. Additionally, there was a young child who died, got killed in our neighborhood, Tyshawn Williams. Went to the Cornhill board, we designed the Tyshawn Williams Scholarship. We gave over $20,000 in scholarship money to seniors.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Can you please repeat the question?
Certainly. What do you do personally, and what have you done in the community to make Rochester a more livable city and the planet more hospitable for future generations? What is the city doing well in that regard, and what are the avenues you see for improvement?
Okay. I am very happy with the way the city has been trying to enfold young people into government at all different levels. The mayor has done a great job in honoring our young people as they hit milestones in their life, and even before they hit milestones. She's done a great job, her and her team has done a great job with increasing funding for the art centers. We need to support our young people. Our young people need jobs. They need opportunities. They need things to do. And that's what she's trying to bring back. And I think that we can do a better job. I think that each day we can do a better job. I have also worked on things personally in the 19th Ward. The Thurston Road fire victims. We worked on raising a lot of money to get those victims back on their feet. That was personal to me because I had a house fire in 2010. I know what that's like, to lose everything and to start all over. So we did everything we could to get those people every little thing that they've lost, amenities, TVs, you know, clothing, all the things that you take for granted. And then the other thing is...
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt.
Oh, okay, understood. Thank you. Caught myself.
I hope you'll jot down notes so that if there's time at the end of another question, you might be able to tuck in something you wanted to say.
That's it.
Ms. Harris, it was reported in the DNC that Krista Construction has said its market studies indicate that the demand for luxury apartments has maxed out in Rochester. What types of new residential developments should the city be focusing on? There are a couple of questions here. What can the government do to ensure affordable housing for our current and future residents? And in the South District, how will you address the needs of the longtime residents impacted by the increased traffic and housing costs, which are beginning to price out current residents, including families who have lived here for 3 generations, seniors and disabled people? I'm going to take the liberty of asking Judy to give us 2 minutes. This is a multi-layered question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll start by saying that housing is one of my things that I'm very focused on. I did just recently look at some plans and I questioned the development, making sure that it was affordable housing. And what we'd like to do is we need to make sure that we drill down on the affordable housing rate they use in the city instead of using the county rate, the AMI rate. Is a average median income rate is how they dictate whether it's affordable housing or not. So what I'd like us to do is focus on doing that based on the city income, not the whole county income, because people in the county make a whole lot more than folks in the city. So drilling down on that and making sure that those projects are based on city AMI rate versus county is one step. The other thing is to attract more people to do development in this community. We should look at having churches partner with development companies to see if they can do things with affordable housing. Do what we can to protect the residents that are living in the neighborhood by maybe adopting some of the things that's pushed down at the state level. They just recently passed to help protect rent rates like rent control. Hold the landlords accountable and make sure that they don't do anything like get rid of people. Like there's a lot of things where we can pass legislation to prevent landlords from getting people out, moving people out of their homes without just cause. Making sure that there's just cause for evictions. Those are the things that we can do. And I think I lost track of the last question. I'll have to catch up next time.
The question was layered, and hopefully I can get to all those layers. But the key thing we need to do is become a part of the planning for our city, and that's the Comprehensive Plan 2034. Went to a meeting the other day, and there's a lot of this, I should say, strategies, that's what they call them, that they're rolling out for the city of Rochester. We need to be a part of making those strategies a reality. The young lady, she was in the back at the meeting, she had some excellent questions that I never thought of about how high should apartment complexes be. Bottom line, this is another point. We need to stop giving so many tax breaks to these huge developers who's parasiting off of us because our tax dollars give us the tax breaks. We need to build some homes that are ranch-style homes because our population, we're getting older, I'm getting older. And we don't have that many homes in the city. At the forum the other day, they announced that 40% of the population in the city of Rochester is leaving. And they're being pushed out. We need to make the homes affordable. I am a product of a grant program that our former Bill Johnson co-sponsored. I was given $25,000 to build my house in Cornhill. We need more programs like that. We need more programs that is in tune to the people that they're supposed to be serving, the people who really need it. We know.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Lewis.
It's okay, I'm sorry. I get a little worked up.
We are nearing the halfway point with the questions, so I would encourage audience members to please jot down your questions if you want to follow up on something or if you have a new topic you want to introduce. Please submit your questions.
Excuse me.
It's been on the.
Oh, okay.
It'll still work. Okay. Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
would you support the City of Rochester prohibition on candidates for municipal office receiving campaign donations from private developers who often receive tax rebates, exemptions, loans, and/or funding from the city government? Why or why not?
I, yes, indeed, would support legislation that will bar these big developers giving money to these candidates. Those big developers are running our city. That's the bottom line. If they weren't lining the pockets of people in government, then more of what we want as a people would be implemented in the city. Another thing, and I'm going to divert a little from the question, we need some term limits. It's unfortunate that people stay in office forever with the same old ideas, getting the same old benefits from these big developers who are running our city. Yes, and I feel strongly about that. That's why we have, it's so much fraud that's going on. Unfortunately, and we all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, but that's why so many people are being kicked out of government in Albany because their pockets are being lined. Unfortunately, people are not being appropriate with monies because they're getting kickbacks in Rochester. It is not going to stop. A lot will be exposed. We just need to keep watching. We need to stop this money trickling down into personal, private ventures. Oh, you give me this and I'll give you that.
But what about the people in Rochester?
The people who are in need, the people who need homes that are affordable. I live in Cornhill, thank you, Lord, but you go down across.
Ms. Lewis,
Okay, sorry.
thank you. Ms. Harris, the same question.
Yeah, I believe that the city should follow the RFP process. And for the record, I don't have any private developers giving me any money for anything. So we set up a RFP process and have the developers follow that. That would be suffice. And I don't believe that we should be doing any private donations from the developers and stuff. Oh,
If you could speak up just a little bit.
Request for proposals. There's a process. The RFP process is a process that's set up by the city where you have to submit proposals through a certain timeline and all of that stuff. And it's done where it's transparent. Everything's put out to the community, so anybody can come in as long as they meet the criteria. They can submit a proposal. So if we follow that process, that will minimize that.
But we don't know what money is.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. You'll have an opportunity to raise your question.
I understand. What I was saying is that the RFP process is what we should follow. And I have no problem with a law change to where you can, minimize what developers give. I do believe that there's a lot of that going on.
All right.
All
All right, thank you. Yes, I would ask people to please refrain from calling out from the audience. Jot your question down. Circle back around if you like. We'll have an opportunity for audience questions. Ms. Harris, if you respond first. Is this mic still working all right?
It's going in.
Is there anything you can do? It's okay.
We can hear you. That better? Talk right in.
If you speak right into it.
Okay.
Ms. Harris, if the proposed referendum on the Police Accountability Board is on the ballot, would you support it? And please explain your response.
Yes, I voted for it. Actually, co-sponsored the Police Accountability Board going to the referendum, and I would support it. I believe that there are some things that we need to tweak. I totally support it because I've seen some things in my lifetime, even as a paramedic, that has been inappropriate. And I feel like as a paramedic, if I have to be accountable for my actions when I give patient care, I believe the police officers should have the same accountability when they take care of people or they're providing service to the community. So I'd like to take an opportunity to say more about that police accountability board, meaning that I'd like to see maybe in the future us tweak it with the community if it's approved. So bring it back to the committee once it's approved, tweak the language, make sure it's good for everybody, and then bring it to city council and do what we have to do to put it in place. I believe the police, most of the men and women of the law enforcement, they mean well, they want to do good, but we have to do what we can to weed out the ones that's not doing the right thing in our community. And this has been a more than 50-year problem in our community. It should have never taken this long for this community to rise up against poor police conduct in this community. So I'm very happy to be a part of the Police Accountability Board movement as a voting person for the legislation to put it to referendum. I'm very interested to see what the community thinks with their vote, and I will follow what the community wants.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis?
Yes, I strongly agree with a police accountability board, but that police accountability board legislation needs to have binding sanctions that if an officer is found governing his policies, handling the citizens in the city of Rochester inappropriately, then their pay needs to be suspended until they're found guilty of not guilty of allegations. Additionally, it needs to go a little further because when you're a city police officer, you have to live in the city of Rochester. When you first take the test, when you first get on the department, then after a while, after you pass probation, then you get a waiver to move out of the city. That accountability board should have a loophole in it that requires, if you're a police officer in the city of Rochester, you must remain a police officer in the city of Rochester, just like our chief of police has to move in by July 1st.
Thank you.
No exceptions.
Ms. Lewis, you'll respond first, please, to this one. In addition to its assets, the Rochester community has a variety of challenges, many of them interwoven. What do you see as a key underlying factor of our challenges?
I see the key
Underlying factor of our challenges. For 40 years, people have been in and out of school and they're not educated. If you are not educated, you don't know how to be an advocate for yourself, you don't know how to consistently keep a job, you don't know how to raise your children so they can grow up to advocate for themselves, get an education for themselves, get a trade for themselves. The bottom line, the problem starts with our education system. And I will not say it's for teachers. I will say we need to partner with parents and really listen to our parents and welcome them into our schools. We need to hold our principals accountable and make sure the teachers have lesson plans that are research-based and those lesson plans are being implemented. We need to make sure there's a universal curriculum across all the schools so parents aren't trying to fight to get to certain schools, certain districts. Our kids are being required to get up early in the morning to be bused to a school because they have this program there. It needs to be an equal distribution of resources throughout the neighborhoods, throughout the schools. We need to hold people accountable. And I'll even go as far as saying we need to require that our city school district teachers, if they're teaching in the city of Rochester, they need to also live in the city of Rochester, be vested in our children. Stop taking our tax dollars out to the suburbs, building homes, sending kids to private schools off our backs.
Thank you.
You see something with a microphone, it really is it's very hard to hear in that sense.
After this question, I was going to suggest, after she responds, I was going to suggest that we should not use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
After Ms. Harris responds. Well, I was trying to make it balanced since Ms. Lewis had to use it. It's your turn.
Can you repeat the question again?
Certainly. In addition to its assets, the Rochester community has a variety of challenges, many of them interwoven. What do you see as a key underlying factor of our challenges?
I would have to say that human capital, and that intertwines to education, people moving out of the state or out of the city, and that human capital goes back to education. We can't get our young people into viable jobs here in the community. So and we're having a hard time tracking talent that do have the education to stay here in the community. So they leave. They get their college degrees, the young people leave and go to other cities. So we got to do whatever we can to try to keep the human capital here and then educate the young people that are here coming up. And the education doesn't necessarily always mean a college degree. We got to look at other opportunities. We got to bring back the vocational skills. We got to bring back the trade stuff. Doesn't mean we go all the way to back to just doing vocational. We do a little bit of everything. We identify what talents the kids have and then put them where they need to be. If they're college bound, put them in college. If they have talents in trades, put them in the trades. We've got to make sure that we do that for our community.
Thank you, and if now if you push that button down and put that mic to rest. We apologize for that. Well, you've both spoken to the issue of education as being important. So the next question has to do with the city school district. Ms. Harris, are you in favor of a yes or a no vote on the referendum on a state takeover of the Rochester City School District? A yes or no vote for it to be on the ballot. And please include in your response your takeaways from state takeovers of other big city school districts across the country.
It is going to be.
Pardon me?
It is going to be on the ballot. The question is.
Are you in favor of a yes or no vote on the referendum on a state takeover of the Rochester City School District? On the ballot.
So just to be consistent with my vote that I did on city council, I did abstain from voting for that because I work for the district. And I was counseled, I'm sorry. Just to be consistent, I'll stand up. Just to be consistent with how I voted at city council, because I'm a city council member, I did not vote for it, I abstained. And I was advised to abstain by council, corporate council, because I work for the district. I'm not going to vote against my employer. I will tell you this, I believe that all hands need to be on deck when it comes to our children of this community, and we need to do everything that we can to change the tides of the education system in this community. It's been 50 years too long that we've been allowing this to continue. So that's one of the reasons why I chose to be an educator, and I moved from EMS to trying to educate our kids to help them get into these career pathways, EMS, fire and police, and 911. So I've dedicated my time to doing that. So that's my response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to keep in mind that the city school district board is not our employer. You taxpayers are our employers. I don't care where you work, you need to stand up and say what you feel. The state does not need to take over the city school district. We need to replace some of the old timers on the board. As I said earlier, we need to have some term limits, and we need to set an atmosphere within the city school district, within the city of Rochester, the mayor's office, within the schools, that we can work together. Instead of yelling, screaming, raising voices, it's about the kids. The state running the city school district, how? How can they do that? Are they going to come down here, sit in these schools with the teachers, and implement? We have to give supports to the principals, and to the teachers, and to our parents.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
And I work for the city school district.
Our final question. Ms. Lewis, if you would respond first. The governor has signed legislation which permits municipalities throughout the state to enact rent control legislation. Would you favor such legislation in Rochester? And if so, What specific regulations would you like to have included?
I would favor any policy that's a win-win policy for tenants and a win-win policy for landlords. Because I am a landlord, and I have been duped so many times, giving people breaks. They're gonna pay me, and not get paid. I was even in court one time crying because one of my tenants worked for the city school district, had money, and wouldn't pay me. So we need to establish policies that are win-win policies. Yes, tenants are being used at some times, and landlords are being used and misused at some times. So all need to come together and make sure that the policies work for both parties involved. And yes, I agree with rent control, but it needs to be so all policies feel like we walked away from the table and we've been treated fairly.
Thank you. So in order to address this, I also would like to address the fact that the 2034 plan that the mayor's rolled out addresses some of the aspects of affordable housing and rent controls. They have some changes that they have in that plan to address some changes to zoning. So we should look at zoning. I do agree with some of the things that I've seen coming down from the state with rent controls, but we got to do it responsibly. The legislation that the Governor Cuomo passed may work for downstate, but we got to make sure that we drill down on what would work here in Rochester, New York, and upstate New York. It's very different. I also want to make sure that we do everything that we can to prevent evictions without just cause, to people who are being evicted without reason. And I do believe that we need to do everything we can to support landlords so they can continue to be small business owners in this community. So it needs to be responsible legislation no matter what we do.
Thank you both. We're now going to move to the audience questions, and thank you very much for submitting these. Ms. Harris, if you would respond first.
Yes.
The phrase "held accountable" is used constantly. This person's question is how? And this is in response to the statements about landlords being held accountable. How do you propose that folks, particularly landlords in this case, be held accountable?
Well, I look at the zoning enforcement. We need to make sure that we enforce the current zoning laws, and if there's changes that need to be made to make sure the zoning laws are true to what we're doing today, true to practice, then we need to make sure that that's enforced. And then absentee landlords, we got to make sure that we hold them accountable. The Thurston Road fire, that was a travesty. You know, we had a landlord that's all the way in Texas or someplace out of state that for years and years and years have been getting away with all these different violations to the building. And these people were burned out of their home and they had no place to go. So that's what I mean by accountability.
Well, I just want to go back and double back to that. You said we need to make sure that this person who was the landlord for the Thurston Road, how do you propose holding that person accountable?
Well, we got to do more than, well, right now, what I see is there's an enforcement issue. None of those zoning issues or violations were really enforced. So we got to go back to enforcing the laws that we already have on the books. Truly enforcing them. That's one. And number two is look at the laws on the books and maybe we have to change them to make sure that there's enforcement. So we'd have to look at it. That would have to be a community discussion and a discussion with the landlord-tenant associations throughout the city to make sure that we do something that's equitable.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis?
A gentleman told me the policies are centered around dollars. So we have, a lot of the properties that we have today are owned by absentee landlords. If we find that these absentee landlords have all these violations, we need to immediately sock them with the fine. Sock them with the fine. Then they'll start having representatives within our city who will keep their properties up, make sure their tenants' needs are being addressed. And who knows, maybe they'll stop donating to these big campaigns and go somewhere else and leave those properties so we can buy them. When you go to a city auction now, there was a time that you can pick up some properties, be a small business owner, fix those properties up. You might have 2 or 3 properties on the block, and you know who lives there, you know your neighbors, but now the people who are hoarding in on those city auctions are
Thank
big
you.
developers.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. And this question will be responded to by you. Pardon?
I said that that's a fact. I go down to the city auction all the time. It's a problem.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis, do you support the city creating a program that allows tenants to buy their buildings if they go up for sale, so tenants can own their buildings
Oh my goodness,
as a cooperative?
praise God, yes, I do. It's about empowerment. Let the people of Rochester who live here own the city of Rochester, not these big developers. And work with the individuals. We give out grant money. I met a lady the other day, she said, we need some more grant money. Not just loan money, she said grant money so we can get on our feet. Yes, I do.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
I agree. I agree that we should do just that, and I think it should be expanded to not just buy buildings, but to even try to find ways to help people buy co-op businesses. So, I mean, that could be expanded to have people take ownership, take back the city, empowering people to do that, yes.
And just as a follow-up, first, Ms. Harris, what role do you see city council having in that?
In that process, I think the city council could be a great facilitator, getting the information out to the community, also providing some regulation and how that's done. Of course, responsible regulation, not too much, but it should be definitely driven by the community. Not too much government involved, but just mostly just a facilitator.
Ms. Lewis, what role does city council have in that?
They should establish a program. The only way that you can purchase these buildings is if you have lived in the city, actually resided in the city of Rochester for a certain amount of time. No developers can be allowed in these auctions. No developers can be allowed to buy these properties. No developers can manipulate the system by placing somebody in there and pretending that they live there, and they haven't. We need to take back our city. The developers own the city of Rochester.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Sorry.
And this will come to Ms. Harris first. A lot of money is being spent in all these ideas. How do you think we can cut costs, or what programs do you think are bloated or unnecessary?
Can you clarify what you mean by all these ideas?
Can you clarify what you mean by all these ideas? This questioner. I imagine they're talking about some of the ideas that have been discussed this evening.
Comprehensive 2034 has a lot of ideas, including a lot of money.
Does that help you?
Okay, thank you, thank you. Well, I've had a chance to look at the comprehensive 2034, and I believe that that's a plan that's over some years. I mean, that's not something that you're going to see us spend money on, immediately. So I believe that if we continue on the path of being fiscally responsible, those ideas can be achieved. And then I think that as we continue to grow our city, of course, work on education, human capital, all the things that I talked to you about, we can actually achieve that together. Together we can achieve that. And one of the biggest things is being a part of that plan, going to those meetings, submitting your ideas. That plan, as you see it, is a draft. It is not set in stone. So it's a draft. That means it is a living document, and it will change as we continue to get ideas and feedback from the community.
So let me just ask the second part. Do you think there's anything that can be cut? Are there programs that are bloated or unnecessary?
I believe that there are things there that can be cut, but trying to drill down right now, while it's in draft form, on what that is, without feedback from the community, I would not want to comment on. I do believe that we need to make sure that whatever we do, we support young people, we support neighborhood growth. Community schools is one of the things that I like to see us do more on. So there's a lot of pieces. That document is like that thick. It's a lot of reading. So
Did you read it?
yes, I did read it. I read.
No, I'd like to ask audience members to please submit questions, sir, rather than calling out. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Lewis, the same question?
I have not read the 500-page comprehensive plan for 2034. However, I did go to a planning meeting. I get my days mixed up sometimes, so Tuesday. And the plan spells out a lot of initiatives for our city. However, we need to be there spelling out the initiatives for our city. The last day that you can resubmit feedback, and they said you can only submit feedback in writing or online, is August 16th. So, is there a lot of waste in the city? I think it begins at home. And for me, the city home is City Hall. There's layers and layers and layers of administrators that are making over $100,000 that we don't really know what they do. Get them out of there, streamline city government, put that money back into our city, stop giving buddies jobs because they...
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. We have several more questions, and I would just ask the candidates to be as specific as possible. We've used the term, if we're fiscally responsible, streamline, City Hall. If you can speak specifically to what you propose to make those things happen. The next question says, in reality, affordable housing is not really affordable for approximately half of the city residents. What can be done to address the housing crisis for people earning less than $12,000? We'll start with Ms. Lewis, please.
That is a huge issue. We need to allow the maximum that you spend at a city auction, perhaps $10,000, perhaps $5,000. Just don't let the developers in the city auctions. So the people who make that $12,000 might bid $500 or $600 or $1,000 and buy a home. Then when they buy that home, make grant money, not loans, grant money available. Maybe we can use some of that grant money off the bicycling program, and we can take some of that money and offer it to the individuals to improve their homes. Maybe we can get some of that, the money that we use to boot people cars and put it and make it a pot so people can access that money so they can improve their homes. There's money out there. You know it, and I know it, but we don't see it. And I can guarantee you, a lot of people in here have a lot of opinions and probably really know where the money is going, and it's not trickling down to us.
Ms. Harris?
Can you repeat the question again?
In reality, affordable housing is not really affordable for approximately half of the city residents. What can be done to address the housing crisis for people earning less than $12,000 a year?
So one of the things that we can do is try to get more development of affordable housing, try to help folks through the home buyers programs, help them get grants so they can buy homes. And there's a lot of grants already there available to people for that. Again, drilling down on the average median income, making sure that any project that's coming in the city can do the citywide average median income versus the county. And then also work on supporting people with the roof program, any additional home repair grant programs, any of those things that we can add monies to. The city already has a gambit of those things already available. We can just add additional budget funding to that as well to support the community.
Thank you. We have a question about what is motivating the candidates to run for this particular office at this particular time. Ms. Harris, if you would respond first, and then Ms. Lewis.
So I am a daughter of City of Rochester. I've been born and raised here. I went to school here. I went to St. Monica's. I really believe in this city. I attack problems like a paramedic. I triage what's really important to focus on first, especially for things that are emergent. And then we work on solutions. And if I can't find a solution, I go on to something else. I'm not going to waste your time with doing things that doesn't work. I'm a doer. I get out here in the streets, everybody knows that I'm a hard worker, and I do it at the grassroots level. I am not one to take big business or monies from big business. I'm a grassroots candidate, and I always have been. My roots come back from the 19th Ward Community Association, which as a city council person, I am still involved in as the chair of the 19th Ward Community Association Square Fair, which is their largest fundraiser. So I believe in this city. I believe that the city is in progress of having a resurgence, and I believe that we together can help the city become the best city in the New York State area. But we just got a lot of hard work to do, and we got to do it together. And government is not all bad, because if government was so bad, then why are people trying to get in government if it was that bad? So I really believe that together we can make things work in the city, but we got to be responsible about how we do it, and we got to listen to each other. And I'm the candidate to listen to you and execute the plan.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis, same question, please.
I am running for city council because I am an advocate. I'm an individual that you can sit down, you can talk with. I will not have any preconceived notions about this should be this and this should be that, or owe any allegiance to any of the people downtown who are in city government now. I owe my allegiance to the people who live in the city of Rochester, who live in the South Wedge, who live in the 19th Ward, who live in Cornhill, who live off Jefferson Avenue. This is a problem. That's why so many people are running now, because we are trying to remove those individuals who have been exploiting us. Those candidates who've been in office, those individuals, lifetime politicians who've been in office forever, who are going behind doors, striking deals with these developers, and we are losing out.
Thank you,
We
Ms.
need
Lewis.
to clean house.
Our next question has to do with parcel 5. Ms. Lewis, what are your ideas for parcel 5?
My ideas for parcel 5 are what you tell me should be on parcel 5. We need to get the ideas out there, take a survey, and whatever the survey pans out, that's my idea for parcel 5. Whatever the population, the people in the city of Rochester want.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
I have to agree with her. It's what the community wants. In parcel 5, we need to make sure that there's a process and make sure that the RP process is followed, and that we follow for what the community wants based on surveys and feedback from the community.
Thank you. Do either of you have any leanings about what you think parcel 5 could be used for?
I am still searching through the records and as to what they have submitted. I can tell you that the one project that's on the table that the mayor is looking at is looking pretty attractive. I do like the idea.
Would you specify?
I'm going into detail because I do like the idea of having some outside green space so you can actually have it for entertainment, and I do like having the opportunity for having retail on the outside of that. So I'm really looking through that material. I just haven't had a chance to read through all of it yet.
Ms. Lewis, your ideas?
Yes, I will speak, okay, I'm not speaking as if I were a city council person. I am speaking as Ann Lewis, who loves movies. That's my thing. Every Tuesday, I would go to Regal or Tinseltown and watch movies. If it was for me, my personal thing, I would love a movie theater downtown and just go sit and watch. But, again, it's what the people want, the majority rules. But I love movies.
Thank you both. So, I believe Ms. Lewis, you respond first now?
I believe so.
Okay. How do we support our city services without increasing taxes to the point where less affluent residents can afford it?
Maybe a little clarification, what city services are you specifically talking about?
You're looking at me, this is not my question. Would someone like to be more specific? Go ahead.
Any city services. We just cut the fire department. right? And so city services are being cut, we've got less services, we've got a lower tax base, but we need to worry about the people who live in the city.
So are you saying what services should be cut, or what?
How do we support our city services? There are a range of city services.
Okay,
How do we support our city
Like they just
services?
minimize the number of fire departments.
Okay.
That would be on like call. It'd be
Okay.
a roll call. We have a moderator. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
So from my understanding, unless I misunderstood what they did with the fire department, is not that they cut services, they're allowing people to rotate. To me, unless I'm misinterpreting, is expanding services because more people will be available to answer a call who might be just sitting at the station not answering a call. But as far as what we could do to expand services, cut the layers of fat down at city council, city government, let that money trickle down to the people, the boots, the people who are working in the city of Rochester, the firemen, the garbage men, the police. We need to rechannel that money to where we actually need it. Another thing we need to do, and a young lady brought this to my attention, I know it will probably be more money, but do you get tired of when you snowplow your driveway and the city comes and push that snow back up in your easement? We need to figure out a strategy to make sure when they do that, they come clear out our easement, because I'm tired of it. Little things like that are services that we would appreciate.
Thank you. Ms. Harrison, question?
I think that if we look at just doing a complete assessment and figure out what we can do to improve efficiencies of the government, city government, and cut fat where we can. And I think that's what the city already does. So we just consistently do that. The 2034 plan is another way that they're going to look at, try to move money around so we can do more for our city. So if we continue down on that path, I think we'll be fine. Again, the services with the fire department, as well as other services, the police department, we got to make sure that we do everything we can to keep the right people in those positions. By choosing LaRon Singleton as the police chief was the right thing to do. He's the right person for the job, supporting him in that role so he can be successful, and so we can continue to have great police services is one way.
Thank you. We're down to our last two questions, so if you have any other questions you'd like to submit, now's the time. Ms. Harris, what would you do to prevent young families from leaving the city when they have children?
That's a multi-level question. City alone cannot be the only agency to help prevent that. There's things at the county level that help support families that has not been there for families, that's been failing families. And hopefully the Democratic Party can fix that, because there's a whole bunch of Democratic legislators that's on the ballot now that you can vote for, so we can change the tides and turn the county legislature to Democrat. But at the city level, we can do everything we can to provide them the services and the resources that we have to offer them. The home buyers program, there's a roof grant program, there's a home repair program, programs to help you get small business. There's grant money out there for small businesses. There's a lot of programs there. And then we also have things there, the rec centers have all this programming for young people that's free to families. The pre-K programs, all the library and the resources are there for families. We just got to make sure that people know that they are there. Getting the information out to the community is important.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis?
I really think a lot of people are leaving the city as a result of there's a poor system in education. They're leaving the city because there's not affordable housing. They're leaving the city because our streets are not safe. They're leaving the city because they don't feel supported by government, and they don't trust the city of Rochester, the people who govern us. We need to create trust back. We need to create open lines of communication. Do you get frustrated when you go to city council and you have all these rallies, rah, 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 this is what we need? And then you sit there and you're like, they didn't hear us because they voted. It seems like their mind was already made up, and it was. They have these behind closed door meetings where they've already made up their minds and they just do what they want to do anyway. We need to start listening to the people. No meeting should be off the record.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. And this segues into what you said, something about trust. The question is, how would you both address the issue of trust between residents and the administration when residents seem to believe that developers have inordinate power over what can be built in our neighborhoods and downtown? Ms. Lewis?
It was interesting. I said, man, are you just being cynical? Do you notice that a lot of development is going up now? And it is. And you know why? Because the comprehensive plan for 2034 has a lot of new guidelines in it. You can't build but so high. The zoning is changing. So they already know what's coming down the pipe. So they're rushing to build now. And once that building is up, there's nothing you can do about it. And then if you look around, by the time we get to 2034, all the space is gone. All the prime property has been already allocated to the big dollar builders. So the comprehensive plan is good. Come on now. Will it really work? Because there's nowhere it's going to work for. The space will be gone. High rise. I love the dinosaur. They got a building by the dinosaur now. A high rise. Come on now.
Ms. Lewis, I'm just going to ask you to
I'm sorry.
to speak to how would you address that issue of trust between the residents and the administration?
Stop misleading us. Be open, honest. Don't throw a rock, hide your hand, because that's what's going on. The members of city council will get before you and pretend they got your back, and they really don't. And you know it. You see it from the legislation. You see it from, I said yesterday, but the other day, when they pretended.
Ms. Lewis?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. The same question, Ms. Harris.
It's not all doom and gloom at City Hall. There's a lot of progress going on. I will say the city will continue to be transparent. Coming to the meetings is something that I urge you guys to do. The meetings are put online. They're always online. You can come to City Hall and meet any one of us and have a meeting with us or have a dialogue with any one of us. And I think that the key is to be transparent and be accessible and be available to the neighborhood associations and listen to their feedback. I think that it's important that the feedback can come in many ways. It can come by email, it can come by phone call. We got to be able to get the feedback in all ways, multiple ways, and we do have that. I have a Facebook page, I have a City Hall account, I have a telephone number, and I have my home phone number, and you can also mail me. So it's important that the city continues to be transparent, and that continues to bring that trust around.
Our last question of the evening, and we'll start with you, Ms. Harris. How would you work with City Council, or perhaps how have you worked with City Council and the City of Rochester administration to accomplish the concerns of the South District?
Well, one of the things I could say I've just started on City Council, it's been about a month now, and it's just important that like I said before, I continue to meet with the constituents that I represent, and if I don't meet with the representation, the folks that I represent, there's no way for me to represent them properly at council. So it's important to have that dialogue. It's important that I stay in constant communication with the people that I represent. And that can be done by meeting with the association, the leaders, having town hall discussions, and then that way when there are hot topic issues or concerns, I can take that information back to City Hall and convey that to City Hall and make a decision.
And I think that's the crux of the question. How will you work with City Council and the administration? You have input and information from your constituents.
How will I work with them?
Yes.
Well, I guess, you know, of course, there's going to be a lot of convincing, like maybe we are all on, you know, I have to educate them on what we got going on in the South District. A big part of being a city council member is to educate my colleagues on what the issues are in the South District. The issues in the South District is very different than the issues in the Northwest and the Northeast District. So I gotta make sure that I'm the voice for you guys, and I'm able to educate them and let them know that our issues are very important and put those issues forward.
The same question, Ms. Lewis, how would you work with City Council and the administration to accomplish the concerns, to address the concerns of the South District?
First thing I would have to do with City Council is shake everybody's hand and say, okay, let the past be the past, because they have consistently tried to keep me off City Council, try to keep me from running against David Gant, try to keep me from running against a lot of different other individuals. I am the rebel, and the majority of the people on City Council, they're in, I'll say a clique, and that clique is ran by a couple of individuals, and people have called me and said, I didn't tell you you could run. You didn't get my permission to run, so they have to let that go when I win, and I will come to South District, 19th Ward, Jefferson Avenue, Cornhill, be accessible, and say, this is what my people need. Let's work together to get that to them.
That wraps up the questions that we've received from the audience. If there are no further questions submitted, then I'm going to thank both candidates, Ms. Harris, Ms. Lewis, for being here tonight, and thank the audience for coming out, and ask our League of Women Voter representative. After the closing remarks, we'll have one of the representatives from the South Wedge Planning Committee or the League of Women Voters come up and give remarks. And Ms. Harris, since you gave opening remarks first, we'll ask Ms. Lewis to give her closing remarks of 1 minute first.
I want to thank you so much for allowing me to present today. I'm sorry I seem a little passionate, but I am very passionate because I really want to help the community. It is not about Ann Lewis. Every time I come out to a public forum, people say, well, you keep running for this office, you keep running for that. That's right, because these offices are meant to help our community, and that's what I want to do. I am not a quitter. It took me, as I said earlier, 14 years and 2 matriculations to get my master's in public administration. And I'm not going to quit on my people that I adore. I won't call people, well, they're just a population. There are people living, breathing, want to be empowered, want assistance, want to be heard. I was at the market the other day, Genesee Market, and they said, you got so much patience. I do.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
I really do. Patience to
Ms.
help
Harris.
my friends, and I consider you my friends.
I'm here because I believe that this district needs proven leadership, someone who's been out here doing the work, someone who's out here doing the grassroots work with the 19th Ward Community Association, someone who is willing to fight for you and your issues. I believe that I'm the best candidate for this seat. I am looking forward to working with you all. I am looking forward to getting your ideas and hearing more about what you have to say. I think back to some time ago, one of the people here in the audience reminded me that we worked on an issue with the South Wedge Planning Committee where they were having traffic issues. And I was just there as a role as a paramedic representing AMR. And I listened to the residents. We worked on solutions, trying to help them control the traffic in the South Wedge area. These are the type of issues that I'm used to dealing with. These are the type of things that I'd like to be able to work on for you as your city council person. And we just need to find solutions together. I'm all about getting results, and I will work hard for you until those results are done. We will not give up. And I think that in the future, together is the only way that we can get this done. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. And to the audience members, we have a responsibility on Tuesday to get out and vote. Please share with your friends, family, neighbors what you heard tonight, and let them know what you think about your candidates. And now we'll have a closing from South Wedge Planning Committee Rep.
just wanted to thank first Ms. Lewis and Ms. Harris for coming out and giving us their perspectives on these issues. Not going to solve it tonight, obviously, but I hope everybody here got some information and got some ideas, and we'll be out to vote on Tuesday. Thank you all for coming tonight and taking the time to listen. This is like democracy in action, so it's really kind of exciting. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for asking us to participate as a partner, and really enjoyed putting this together and really enjoyed this evening, and have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.